All right, ready to dive in. Today we're looking at research integrity.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, specifically in African universities.
Oh,
You
dear.
might be thinking, how interesting can that be?
Yeah.
But trust me, it's way more fascinating and honestly a little concerning than you
Yeah.
might expect.
Okay.
We found this study in Research Square
Okay.
called Public Availability of Research Integrity Policies in Leading African Universities.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
And it is packed with insights
I bet.
that'll make you think twice about, research you read.
Huh. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it really makes you think about the integrity of research
Yeah.
and how it underpins the reliability of information.
Right.
And that impacts everybody,
Yeah.
not just people in academia.
Sure.
Think about it, medical breakthroughs.
Right.
All the policies that are being shaped stems from research.
Yeah.
And if that foundation isn't solid,
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
it can have huge consequences.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this study, they looked at 283 top universities
Okay.
across Africa.
Wow.
And the thing that really struck me was just how many of them don't have publicly available research integrity policies.
Oh, wow.
And we're not talking about a small percentage
Yeah.
here. It's almost 80%.
Seriously, 80% don't have these policies.
That's what the study found.
Well, that's wild. That really does make you wonder about the research coming out of those institutions.
Right.
Like, how can you ensure ethical conduct or handle disputes?
Exactly.
Or even deal with, allegations of misconduct without these policies in place.
So if I'm a researcher at
Yeah.
one of these universities,
Yeah.
that doesn't have a policy, what am I supposed to do?
I mean,
Just wing it.
basically, yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Imagine navigating, like, authorship disputes
Oh, yeah.
or allegations of data manipulation
Right.
without any guidelines.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It creates so much uncertainty, potential for misconduct. Definitely a lack of accountability.
That's a huge problem.
It is.
And it gets even more complicated
Oh, how so?
when you start to look at the regional differences.
Oh, okay.
So the study found that Southern Africa,
Yeah.
they're actually kind of ahead of the game.
Interesting.
They have a much higher percentage of universities with these policies in place.
Okay.
But in Northern and Central Africa, it's a
Yeah.
completely different story.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Why do you think that is?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
It's probably a mix of factors.
Like what?
Differences in research infrastructure.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe the strength of regional collaboration networks.
Uh-huh.
Even, institutional autonomy could play a role.
Wow. So many things to consider.
It really makes you think about how these factors can shape the whole research landscape.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It does make you wonder
So,
if those regional differences are also influencing the types of research that they're prioritizing, or even the quality and impact of the findings.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
like each region has its
Yeah.
own strengths and weaknesses
Right.
when it comes to research integrity.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It really is.
And it just highlights how important it is to understand those nuances,
Yeah.
It's not about like a one-size-fits-all approach. It's
Wow.
about recognizing the unique context of each region
Uh-huh.
and tailoring solutions to fit them out.
Okay, so we've established a lot of universities
Right.
are missing these policies entirely.
Yeah.
What about the ones that do have them?
Good question.
Are they comprehensive?
That's where it gets interesting.
Ooh, tell me more.
Even when policies exist,
Yeah.
they often have gaps in coverage.
Really?
Yeah, many universities focus on general ethics,
Okay.
plagiarism,
That's good.
which is important,
Yeah.
but they sometimes miss other crucial areas.
Like what? Spill the details.
Well, one that's often missing is whistleblower protection.
Oh, that's important.
Think about it.
Yeah.
If you see something unethical happening,
Right.
you need to feel safe reporting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without clear policies,
Yeah.
potential whistleblowers might hesitate.
Right.
They might be afraid of retaliation,
Oh, for sure.
negative consequences.
Who wants to risk their career
Exactly.
to report misconduct?
It's a tough position to be in.
It is.
And without that safeguard,
Uh-huh.
unethical practices can just fester.
Oh, yeah. They can just grow.
Absolutely.
And then what happens?
And another area where policies often fall short
Okay.
is addressing authorship disputes,
Oh, yeah. That's a tricky one.
especially in collaborative research projects.
Right.
You got multiple researchers involved,
Mm-hmm.
each contributing their expertise.
Yeah.
And it's not always clear cut
No.
who gets credit.
Yeah. And in what order? Right.
Exactly.
Like who's first author?
Right.
all that.
Without a clear framework to guide those decisions, it can lead to disagreements,
For sure.
damaged reputations,
Right.
even legal battles in some cases.
Wow, it sounds messy.
It can be.
So
Yeah.
we've got missing policies.
Right.
We've got incomplete policies.
Yeah.
Are there any other issues that came up in the study?
There is one
Okay.
that raises some interesting questions.
All right, I'm
The
listening.
language barrier.
Okay.
The majority of research integrity policies
Yeah.
are written in English,
Okay.
even in French and Arabic-speaking countries.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Even in countries where English isn't the primary language of research?
Yes.
That's so interesting.
It is. Now, it's worth considering.
Yeah.
Is this about promoting international collaboration,
Uh-huh.
or is it potentially reinforcing global academic hierarchies?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
On the one hand,
Yeah.
using English could make it easier for these universities to engage with the broader international research community,
Right.
publish in journals,
Uh-huh.
attract funding.
Yeah, all of that.
But on the other hand,
No.
it could create a barrier
Yeah,
for researchers and students who aren't fluent in English.
absolutely.
And if they can't fully understand the policies,
Yeah.
how can they be expected to comply with them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a real concern.
It almost creates this two-tiered system
Right.
where some have access to this information and others are struggling to
Exactly.
even understand
It raises concerns about fairness
Yeah,
and inclusivity in research.
it really does.
This brings us to another key point
Okay.
that the study emphasizes:
Okay, what's that?
accessibility.
Okay.
Even the best written research integrity policies are useless if people can't find them or
Yeah.
understand them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just about having a policy.
Right.
It's about making sure that policy is easy to access
Yes.
and usable
Exactly.
by the people it's meant to guide.
That's the key.
So how do universities do that? What does good accessibility even look like?
Yeah. Good question. It's about going beyond just posting a PDF on the website
Yeah,
and calling it a day.
right.
You got to think user-friendly websites,
Okay.
clear language,
Yeah,
and, as we've been talking about, translations
right.
into the right languages.
So it's almost like treating these policies like any other important piece of information. If
Exactly.
you want your audience to engage with it,
Right.
you got to make it front and center,
Yeah.
easy to find,
Uh-huh.
and written in a way that everyone understands.
Wouldn't have said it better myself.
So no one wants to wade through a bunch of legal jargon
Oh,
to try and figure out what they're supposed to do.
no way.
Keep it clear,
Yeah,
keep it concise,
absolutely.
and of course offer translations so
Yes.
that everyone in the university community can access the information.
Exactly. Students, faculties, staff.
Everyone.
Yep.
It raises an interesting question, though.
Okay, what's that?
Should these policies be accessible to the public?
Interesting question.
Research doesn't happen in a vacuum.
True.
It impacts society as a whole.
It really does.
So should the public have access to these policies?
I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of transparency in research.
Right.
Making these policies public could really increase trust and accountability.
Yeah, because the public has a right to know how research is being conducted.
For sure.
The research that shapes their world.
Right.
How is it being governed?
Exactly.
So, if you're going to trust the findings,
Yeah.
you need to trust the process.
Makes sense.
And transparency is a big part of building that trust.
It is.
It also allows for more scrutiny from the outside,
Yeah,
which can actually help strengthen the research process.
absolutely.
More eyes on the process,
Mhm.
more opportunity to catch problems early,
Right.
and ultimately a higher standard for everyone involved.
Exactly.
So let's recap.
Back.
A lot of African universities don't have these research integrity policies.
Yeah.
And even when they exist,
Wow.
they can be incomplete,
Right.
inaccessible,
Yeah.
not available in the right languages.
It's a problem.
It's a very complicated picture,
It is.
but it's important to remember.
What's that?
This study is like a snapshot.
Okay.
It's a starting point,
Uh-huh.
not the end of the story.
Yeah, that's important.
So the good news is, once you've identified the problem,
Right.
you can start finding solutions.
So true.
So what are some ways forward?
Well,
What did the study suggest to improve the situation?
they said, first and foremost,
Yeah.
universities need to make these policies a priority.
Okay.
Developing these policies,
Yeah.
implementing these policies.
Yeah.
It's not just about checking a box.
Right.
It's about building a culture of research integrity.
A culture of research integrity.
Yeah.
That's a great phrase.
How do you go about doing that?
Right.
Is it just writing a policy and hoping everyone follows it?
Exactly.
It's definitely more nuanced than that.
So what does it look like?
It needs a multi-pronged approach.
Okay.
Universities need to invest in training resources
Yeah.
for their researchers.
Makes sense.
Open dialogue about these ethical issues.
Yeah.
Clear procedures for addressing misconduct.
So it's about creating this whole ecosystem
Right.
where research integrity is just baked into every stage,
Exactly.
from the research design to the publication.
Yes.
So prevention is key.
Prevention rather than punishment.
Right.
And it shouldn't be a solo effort.
Okay.
The study highlights the need for collaboration,
Oh, interesting.
both regionally and internationally.
So universities sharing best practices,
Yes.
learning from each other's successes, mistakes,
Yeah.
working together
Exactly.
to raise the bar
For everyone.
for ethical research.
That's the idea.
It's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
By working together.
Yeah.
Universities can create a more robust and ethical research environment
A better research environment for everyone.
that benefits the whole community.
The whole research community, for sure.
And it's not just about the universities themselves.
Right.
Funders have a big role to play too.
They do.
So funders can be more than just a source of money.
Absolutely.
They can actually be drivers of change
They can, yes.
when it comes to research integrity.
How so?
Well, they can require grant recipients to have strong research integrity policies in place.
Okay.
No policy, no funding.
Right. That makes sense.
And they can go even further
Ah.
by actually rewarding universities
Interesting.
that are taking the lead on this issue.
Okay.
Maybe offering additional funding
Yeah.
or support for those institutions that are doing it right.
So they're incentivizing good behavior.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's like they're sending a signal to the research community.
What's that?
Like, hey, we're not just looking for results.
Right.
We're looking for responsible research.
We want ethical research.
Ethical research.
It's a powerful message.
It really is.
But there's another layer to this.
Okay.
We need to unpack it.
Systemic issues.
Systemic issues.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Think about the pressure to publish.
Oh,
Publish or perish.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds intense.
In a lot of academic environments,
Yeah.
researchers feel this immense pressure
To publish.
to constantly be publishing,
Yeah.
to get funding,
Uh-huh.
promotions,
Recognition.
all of it.
I could see how that would create a difficult environment,
It does.
especially for early career researchers
Oh, absolutely.
who are just starting out.
They're trying to make a name for themselves.
Exactly.
And that pressure, coupled with limited resources,
Yeah.
can lead some researchers to cut corners.
Oh, no.
Maybe even engage in misconduct.
To get ahead.
Yeah, it's not always malicious.
Right.
Sometimes it's just the system
Pushing them in that direction.
incentivizing the wrong behaviors. So how do you address that?
It requires a shift
Okay.
in how we evaluate researchers,
Mm-hmm.
how we reward researchers.
So instead of just focusing on quantity,
Right.
we should be looking at quality,
Yes.
integrity.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Mentoring, teaching, community engagement.
Yeah,
All these things are valuable.
they are.
They should be recognized.
So it's about valuing the holistic impact
Yes.
of a researcher's work,
Exactly.
not just how many papers they've published.
Right. Shifting that focus
Mhm.
can really alleviate some of the pressure,
Yeah.
create a healthier research environment.
Where integrity is truly valued.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot.
But there's one more piece
Okay.
that I think is crucial.
All right, lay it on me.
We need to raise awareness
Okay.
about research integrity
Mhm.
among all stakeholders,
So not just the researchers.
not just them.
We're talking about students,
Yes,
the public.
everyone.
So educating students about these ethical practices.
Right.
From the very beginning.
Yes, from the moment they step foot in a lab or a library.
And even engaging the public in these conversations about
Exactly.
why this matters.
Because everyone benefits
Right.
from robust and ethical research.
So everyone has a stake in it.
They do.
Wow.
It's about understanding that this isn't just a nice to have.
Right.
It's a fundamental pillar
Of a just time.
an equitable society.
So it's not just about policies and procedures.
Right.
It's about this culture
Yeah.
of integrity,
Mm-hmm.
collaboration,
Yeah.
and accountability
At every level.
from the individual researcher
Yes.
all the way up to the public.
That's it. You nailed it.
Now that sounds like a research landscape I can get behind.
Me too.
But how do we actually make this happen?
Right.
Where do we go from here?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
No magic bullet.
Yeah.
But I think this study offers a good place to start.
Okay.
It's about moving beyond just awareness
Right.
and actually taking those concrete steps
Yeah.
to foster that culture of integrity
Right.
that we keep talking about.
Okay, so where do those steps begin?
Well,
Who needs to take charge here?
I think universities definitely have a responsibility.
Right.
They can start by developing comprehensive policies
Uh-huh.
that address those gaps we talked about.
Yeah.
Whistleblower protection,
Yeah.
authorship dispute resolution,
Right.
all of that.
And it's not enough to just have those policies.
Great.
They need to be implemented, enforced.
So it's also about providing researchers with the support they need
Yes.
to actually understand and comply with these policies.
Training programs,
Yeah.
workshops, maybe even mentorship
Oh, that's a good idea.
to guide them through these tough ethical situations.
That's a great idea.
And don't forget about accessibility.
All right.
Those policies should be available in multiple languages, clearly written.
Easy to find.
Yeah, no more hiding them on the website.
Make it easy for people.
But sounds like it goes beyond just universities, right?
Yes.
We've talked about funders.
Yes.
And I'm curious about their role. How can they use their position to drive change?
Funders have so much power
They do.
to shape the research landscape.
Right.
They can start by making these policies a requirement for funding.
Okay.
No policy.
Yeah.
No grant.
That's a good rule.
And they can go even further.
How?
Incentivize best practices.
Okay.
Imagine if funders offered bonus funding
Oh.
or special recognition
Yeah.
to universities that are leading the way,
Ooh, like a reward system.
like a reward system.
I like that.
It would motivate universities to really step up.
To create those cultures of integrity
Exactly.
you've been talking about.
And don't forget about professional organizations,
Oh, yeah.
academic journals.
Right.
They also have a responsibility.
To promote ethical conduct
Yeah.
and hold researchers accountable.
It's a village.
It really does.
It's a whole ecosystem of accountability.
Everyone's involved.
From the researcher,
Funders.
publishers,
All playing their part.
to ensure that research is conducted ethically.
With integrity.
I like that a lot.
It's a collective effort.
It is.
And it's important to remember
Oh, it's that.
research integrity.
Yeah.
It's not static.
Right.
It's always evolving.
Things change.
New technologies emerge. Research practices change.
Yeah.
We need to be adaptable,
Right.
proactive
Yeah.
in addressing new ethical challenges.
It's like a continuous learning process.
It is.
We're constantly refining what it means to do research responsibly.
And ethically.
And this study,
Yeah.
despite showing some problems,
Mhm.
it's a valuable step
It is.
in that process.
Absolutely.
So what's all this mean for you, the listener?
That's a good question.
Well, even if you're not a researcher,
Right.
this deep dive highlights something important.
What's that?
You need to be critical. Okay.
Of the information you consume.
Be a critical consumer
Exactly.
of information.
So when you read about a new breakthrough
Yeah.
or a study that claims to change everything,
Okay.
take a moment.
Okay.
Think about the source.
The source of the information.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from?
Think about the institutions involved,
Right.
the funding sources. Are they prioritizing transparency?
And ethical practices.
These are questions we should all be asking.
I agree.
Because in the end,
Yeah.
the integrity of research impacts all of us.
It really does.
It affects the medicines we take,
Right.
the policies that shape our world,
Mm-hmm.
the foundations of knowledge.
It's all connected.
So the next time you encounter a research finding,
Yeah.
don't just take it at face value.
Good advice.
Dig a little deeper.
Ask questions.
Be an informed consumer.
Love it.
It's about remembering
Right.
that research integrity is a shared responsibility.
Absolutely.
We all have a role to play.
In demand
And upholding
the highest ethical standards.
your research?
I think that's a great place to leave it.
I think so too.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been great having you.
Until next time.
Stay curious.